make the argument of whether or not a lot of these people were Trump supporters, if they were infiltrators, maybe feds. We can have those conversations a different day. But the fact remains, Trump authorized the National Guard. Patel testified and reiterated in a DailyMail.com interview that Trump did verbally authorize National Guard deployment during an Oval Office meeting on January 3rd, 2021, 3 days before J6. The Trump advisor and former National Security Council official was in the meeting where he claims Trump gave his approval for defense officials to communicate to Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and then Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi that they were authorized to deploy the National Guard to the district and the U.S. Capitol amid threats of violence that day. He said, I remember the number 10,000 coming up of, the president wants to make sure that we have enough, says Anthony Ornato, who was in charge of the Chief Executive Secret Service detail from January 2019 until Trump left office. He testified the number was 10,000 that had been authorized. It would have been a different day, wouldn't have? The Select Committee on the January 6th Capitol attack did all they could to discredit Patel's testimony and labeled him a Trump lackey who would say anything to protect the former president, the former national security official claimed. But when you hear it from Nancy's own muffled, mask-covered mouth, it certainly sounds like she's taking responsibility.
And I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
I take responsibility for not having them prepare for more, says Nancy Pelosi. Again, this is stuff we know. If you've been paying attention, which I'm sure you have, we remember the videos of J6 cops on the ground saying that they felt like they were set up.
They set us the up. That's what they did. They set up 64. Oh, absolutely. And then they asked us to come 2 hours later. They set us up. They needed everybody right away. Nah, right away. They set us the up. So now we ain't got shit.
They set us up. We needed everybody right away. They set us up. We needed everybody right away, and they come 2 hours later. They set us up. That's cops on the ground during January 6th. You can't call them Trump lackeys. All you can do is really try to stifle that video and don't let it see the light of day. And hopefully your friends at the social media companies won't boost it. Maybe they'll throttle that thing so nobody sees it. But you saw it. I saw it. Everybody saw it. We remember Byron Donalds calling this stuff out during the J6 committee.
Troops from National Guard were authorized by the president at the time, Donald Trump, on January 4. They were authorized. It was testified in this committee they were authorized. D.C. was able to take advantage of them in the capacity that D.C. wanted to save for the couple of requests that you also wanted. One thing it's important to indicate, Mr. Chairman, is that for National Guard troops to be deployed to the Capitol, it requires the Capitol Police Board to actually issue a state of emergency for troops to come on Capitol grounds. And the police board is made up of the architect of the Capitol, the head of Senate security, the head of House security, and the chief of the Capitol Police. And by my understanding, 3 of those 4 people report to the Speaker of the House. And the Speaker of the House at that time was Nancy Pelosi.
Isn't it weird how that works out? They report to Nancy Pelosi.
No, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
She knew they reported to them. She takes responsibility. And that's all that happened on the actual day. But, as the news breaks, narratives change and excuses become prevalent. So Nancy Pelosi had to go on MSNBC yesterday to defend herself and defend the news that's breaking around her, because this is new explosive video of Nancy Pelosi on J6 saying that she takes responsibility. So the redemption tour starts, right? And where do you start? Well, you go to your trusted friends in the media. You go to MSNBC, and they immediately start with the softest of softball questions.
Why do you think this is stirred up and a brouhaha on the right and in some corners of the media today?
Why do you think this is stirred up in a brouhaha? Because you've been gaslighting the American public that Donald Trump tried to overthrow the government when Donald Trump authorized National Guard troops to keep law and order on January 6th. That's why it's a brouhaha. and you claimed that it was these evil right-wing extremists, MAGA Republicans, when really it was Nancy Pelosi's lack of attention to the issue that caused a lot of the chaos. If there's 10,000 National Guard troops there standing guard, none of this is going to happen.
Well, because of the fact is that the President of the United States, the former president, and his toadies.
His toadies? His toadies.
Do not want to face the facts. They're trying to do revisionist history on January 6th.
We're trying to do revisionist history on January 6th. That's what she goes on MSNBC and says. That's her best take. You know, the people at MSNBC didn't have the gall to play this audio.
I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
No, yeah, it's those toadies, those darn Republican toadies.
But we cannot let us be dragged into their, again, false impression of what happened that day. They know what happened that day.
Yes, yep, yep, we certainly do. We've known for a while what happened that day.
I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Also, Nancy Pelosi sounds drunk on MSNBC. Or like her dentures are kind of slipping a little bit.
They know how serious it is and was and continues to have an impact on our country. And yet they want to call the people who were in there hostages.
Yep, we do. We do. The narrative's falling apart. And she says, now we want to do revisionist history. But I mean, I can point to so many articles. Raheem Kassam, he reported on January 11th, 2021, Jan 6 incitement timeline debunked as ex-Capitol Police Chief says Pelosi, McConnell's Sergeant-at-Arms refused security measures. That's from the National Pulse. That's from January 11th, 2021. It's not revisionist history. That was happening in real time. People were questioning exactly how this went down, exactly how there was no National Guard there. But Nancy Pelosi, she thinks you're dumb. She thinks like you're somebody that would vote for Nancy Pelosi. And maybe she understands that she's only talking to people that would vote for Nancy Pelosi. So she's just going to continue to lie and double down. That's what she did. And then she changes the subject. She brags about that Lincoln Award that she won and brings up all of the hate speech and the rhetoric on J6.
Last night I received the Lincoln Award. I was so proud of receiving that. Anybody that wins that award now, it's just devalued. And I said in my remarks, Lincoln built the dome on the Capitol. He insisted that it be built during the Civil War so that it could show the resilience of America. And to see these people coming through the Capitol with their foul deeds and foul actions, waving Confederate flags and Nazi flags under Lincoln's dome was so shameful.
Okay. There were no Nazi flags in the Capitol. A quick Google search will disprove that. And since Google is so left-leaning, if there was, it would have been the first result. Guaranteed. Hands down. There was one Confederate flag. One Confederate flag in the Capitol. Oh, no! Ah! What a joke. What an absolute joke.
And to see these people coming through the Capitol with their foul deeds and foul actions.
Wasn't one grandmother arrested because she went in there and prayed? This woman is 70 years old. She's facing a prison sentence because she had the gall to go in there with the foul actions and the foul attitudes and deeds to sit there and pray.
Thank God she didn't have a Confederate flag.
Oh, my gosh.
And to see these people coming through the Capitol with their foul deeds and foul actions, waving Confederate flags and Nazi flags under Lincoln's dome was so shameful. And yet this president this former president who incited this insurrection would not send the National Guard for hours.
She doubles down again. He authorized them on January 3rd, according to Kash Patel. The timeline gets a little blurry. Byron Donald says it was January 4th. Either way, days before. And Nancy Pelosi, she's the one that they report to. And she says that on MSNBC. But again, on January 6th, she says,
And I take responsibility.
Isn't it weird How those stories just change.
People were harmed, people were killed, but died one way or another.
What? Well, people were harmed, people were killed or died one way or another. There was only one death on January 6th. It was Ashley Babbitt, an unarmed veteran of the United States of America. And they'll try to tell you and gaslight you, police died. It's not true.
And what did he do but try to deny that any of it happened?
And Nancy Pelosi goes on MSNBC to deny that she had anything to do with the National Guard not showing up. I mean, it checks out, right? It checks out. And then she ends her MSNBC interview by saying, this is terrible, but let's move forward and unify. And then she disses Republicans for a second time.
This is a terrible thing, but let us not take away the attention of what we need to do to go forward. We have to unify our country. We have to bring people together in a way that honors the vision of our founders, the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform, as well as the aspirations of our children. I just came back from D-Day in Normandy to see our veterans there. It was the 80th anniversary of it. Some of the youngest of them were 97, some over 100. They fought for our freedom, and yet you see how it is being denigrated by the former president and his Republican toadies.
Yeah, you got to look out for those toadies. What kind of slang is she using? Is that the kind of talk they had in the 1930s?
Yeah, they're meaning they're sycophants.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
We have to move forward and unify the country because of those damn Republican toadies. A great take, Nancy. It's 9:23 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Tennessee ranks in the bottom half of a new list of the 182 best places to raise a family and got some traffic problems right now in Berry Hill. Looks like a crash is blocking the right two lanes of 440 westbound right before Nolensville Pike. That story I just mentioned and more at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. Getting a lot of texts on the Members Nutrition text line. Where can I see the video of the vodka skeleton Nancy Pelosi admitting responsibility about the lack of National Guard presence on January 6th? Well, you can go to my Twitter, at Chris Hand on Air, and you can see her in all of her glory saying this.
They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them. Just prepare for more.
Got one text. Somebody said, did she say prepare for war? I heard prepare for more. I don't know. I think that's up to interpretation, but I'm pretty sure I heard prepare for more. Dan in Franklin has a comment on Pelosi. Dan, you're next on Super Talk. What's up?
Hey, two things, Chris. The first one, and great show again, as always, and I couldn't believe that audio clip. Just amazing. So we know now, again, my point number one is that we know now that not only will the Democrats shamelessly and ruthlessly go after their political opponents personally, but now they will also go after personally the common citizens that support the side that they hate so much. My second point is I came across a website that I want you to know about if you don't know about it already, called Vote Rev. Or Vote R-E-V, I think it's Vote Revolution. And they have dozens and dozens of nonprofits that are left-wing and companies that support their Get Out the Vote efforts. And they do something called vote tripling. So look up vote tripling and Vote Rev or Vote Revolution. And what we need to do is, as conservatives and Republicans, is we need to pay people to get out there and tell people to vote and go door to door or whatever it takes. That's where Trump's money should be going to for the campaign, is to get everybody out and vote and pay people to do that.
I hear you. Well, I mean, we can't pay people to vote, but we can pay people to go out and get people registered to vote. And I'm looking at Vote Rev right now. I will tell you this, Dan, and I appreciate your call. There are organizations that are doing stuff like this. Turning Point Action is on the ground in all these battleground states, putting boots on the ground, getting people registered to vote, creating more awareness. They're more focused in the battleground states. They're not focused in the deep blue or the deep red. They're really like Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Pennsylvania. You know what I'm talking about. But real quick, it's 9:31. Time for Ken Weaver's News on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and all of a sudden, traffic has become a nightmare in Nashville. We have got a vehicle fire blocking the off-ramp to, looks like, get to the airport. Yeah, this is going to be the I-40 eastbound off-ramp to Donaldson Pike. That vehicle fire blocking the off-ramp there. Now at Berry Hill, still have that crash blocking the right two lanes of 440 westbound before Nolensville Pike. And now rolling roadblocks to fix potholes blocking the two left lanes, 24 eastbound right before Waldron Road. That's going to be in Laverne. Jurors are deliberating in court in Wilmington, Delaware. The trial against the president's son, Hunter Biden. Prosecutors arguing that Biden, who had been struggling with addiction, lied on a form when he purchased a firearm back in 2018. Tennessee cities rank in the bottom half of 182 best places to raise a family, according to personal finance company Wallet Hub, and Memphis comes in as the worst city out of 182. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, there's not a question of how they have. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
I take responsibility. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I was so torn on grabbing the clip of "Back it up, Terry! Back it up!" She's yelling at poor Terry. Felt bad for Terry. Feel bad for everybody in that car. Just having to deal with Nancy. I do. It's just, back it up, Terry. I take responsibility. That's Nancy Pelosi. In regards to a lack of National Guard on January 6th, Larry in Clarksville's been holding for a minute. He wants to comment on the vodka skeleton. Larry, you're next on Super Talk. What's up?
Hey, Chris. Thanks for taking my call. And by the way, you know, I got a voice video from Donald Trump saying that Johnny B. and Ken Weaver are the best, and he loves them hugely.
Yeah, bigly. It's the truth.
Yeah, yeah. The lady that was arrested is actually a friend of mine. She's 74. She's now facing 19 years for going in and praying.
Yep. And Nancy Pelosi says, you know, can you believe what they were doing in there? They went in with foul deeds and foul intentions.
Well, and listen, I'm going to have to start putting duct tape on a credit card to duct tape my head to keep it from exploding from these crapping in their pants idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris, and I told Johnny B to keep his hand on the darn red button. I don't know how much more idiotic these people can become and get away with it. They just get away with everything, Chris.
Yep.
Anyway, I love you, brother. I won't keep you. I know there's a lot of people wanting to talk.
Hey,
Have
man.
a good day.
I appreciate you, Larry. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. Again, this isn't news to us. We've been paying attention for a long time. You've probably heard the interview that Tucker did with former Capitol Police Chief Steve Sund. You've probably read the reporting in the days after January 6th. But the Washington Post had reported 2 days before Congress was set to formalize President-elect Joe Biden's victory, Capitol Police Chief Steve Sund was growing increasingly worried about the size of the pro-Trump crowds expected to stream into Washington in protest. To be on the safe side, Sund asked House and Senate security officials for permission to request that the D.C. National Guard be placed on standby in case he needed quick backup. But Sund said Sunday, before January 6th, they turned him down. They turned him down. We've known this. House Sergeant at Arms Paul Irving said he wasn't comfortable with the optics of formally declaring an emergency ahead of the demonstration. Sund said. Meanwhile, Senate Sergeant at Arms Michael Stenger suggested that Sund should informally seek out his guard contacts, asking them to lean forward and be on alert in case the Capitol Police needed their help. Well, the Capitol Police did need their help. Nancy Pelosi understood that the Capitol Police needed help, and Nancy Pelosi, in a newly released video, takes responsibility.
They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Now, she takes responsibility on January 6th, but she denies responsibility on June the 10th, 2024, when she gives an interview to MSNBC. This shouldn't be surprising to anyone. I'm not surprised that the J6 narrative is falling apart. To me, the narrative never made any sense in the first place. But I think that you should be infuriated because of the amount of tax dollars that have been wasted on the J6 committee, the same committee that went and destroyed their evidence. the tax money that has been wasted on prosecuting grandmas for going in the Capitol praying. We're $34 trillion in debt, and we don't bat an eye at the money that was spent on this farce. What an absolute joke of a country. Honestly. And it's not just that. Like, even just the other day, we find out that the FBI enters into evidence and clearly states that Hunter Biden's laptop is not disinformation. But again, a couple years ago, we had 51 intelligence agencies step up and say that it's Russian disinformation. We had the guy that was running for the president of the United States at the time, Joe Biden, say that's Russian disinfo. It seems like the conspiracy theorists are just running up the score at this point. Do you feel like we're running away with this? Because I feel like we're running away with this. Oh, and speaking of the laptop, the ex-Intel officials who smeared the New York Post and said it was Russian disinformation and signed the letter, well, they stand by that. Yep. Even as the FBI enters it into evidence, even as the FBI says it hasn't been tampered with, they stand by their letter saying that the laptop was Russian disinformation. The New York Post has this story. The 51 former U.S. intelligence officials who smeared the Post's bombshell reports on Hunter Biden's laptop as Russian disinformation in a 2020 letter are standing by their decision. This is what infuriates me the most. Just say you were wrong. Just say you made a mistake. Like, people are human. If Nancy Pelosi came out and said, yeah, I didn't authorize it because I honestly didn't think we needed it and I was wrong and I apologize, clearly we did, I think most Americans would go, yeah, who could have predicted that? You know, let's be real. Who saw that going the way it went? But these people can never admit that they're wrong. They'd rather call you a racist and a bigot and an idiot before they admit that they're wrong. Nancy Pelosi goes on MSNBC and defends herself after the video is released where she's saying she takes responsibility. And she defends herself by saying we need to unify the country because of these darn Republican toadies. And the 51 intelligence officials who said that the New York Post was lying about the laptop are now standing by their decision to sign that letter in 2020. Some are even referring to the move as patriotic. Again, this is after the FBI and the Justice Department have confirmed the device's authenticity. Former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, ex-intelligence heads of the CIA and other analysts and officers have all said that they have no regrets about their involvement in the Spies Who Lie missive, Fox News reported on Monday. No regrets. It reminds me of that tattoo you see. You ever see the meme with the tattoo? It says no regrets. Like, that's what these idiots look like. No regrets. They were asked whether when asked if he was too hasty in signing the letter, James Clapper, former Director of National Intelligence, told the New York Post, no, I wasn't too hasty. And he said he would not remove his name. All the other guys that signed this joke of a letter were also contacted by Fox News and offered similar defenses, or, my favorite, declined to comment. There continues to be a calculated or woefully ignorant interpretation of the October 2020 letter signed by 51 former intelligence officials concerning Hunter Biden's laptop. Mark S. Zaid said, and he's an attorney for 7 of the guys that signed it, and he said that in a statement to the Post, first shared with Fox News. A careful, objective reading of the document reflects that even today, its content is accurate. Oh. He's representing CIA officers Ronald Marks, Mark Polymeropoulos, Emily Nikhil, Paul Kobe, John Cipher, and Gerald O'Shea, as well as ex-Defense Intelligence Agency Deputy Director Douglas Wise. He says that the letter served as nothing more than a warning of what we have known for decades. Certain foreign governments, including Russia, continue to try and actively interfere in our domestic affairs, and our guard must remain vigilant. He also went on to say every patriotic American should have signed that letter. Just if you're keeping score at home, lying to the American people is now patriotic. That's what these people truly, truly believe. They think you're dumb, and they think lying to you is patriotic. This report comes as special counsel David Weiss's prosecution of Hunter Biden continues, and the laptop has been put into evidence. They lie to you, and they claim it's patriotic. This is where we are in America. It served as nothing more than a warning of what we have known for decades. Certain foreign governments, including Russia, continue to try and actively interfere in our domestic affairs, and our guard must remain vigilant. They can't admit they're wrong. They can't apologize. They have to double down. Every step of the way we see this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Panetta defended the letter in a CNN interview last July, saying he had no reservations about co-signing its dubious claims about the so-called laptop from hell. He said, I signed the letter for one reason, which was to make the American people aware that the Russians deliberately were engaged in a disinformation campaign in the United States and trying to impact on our election and trying to impact on our ability to have free and fair elections. That's what he told CNN's Caitlin Collins in July. And listen, these guys impacted the election. Social media impacted the election by shutting down that story. Social media impacted that election by shutting down these questions about J6. The media really boosted the J6 narrative. They impacted our election. The media really put their thumb on the scale when it came to the laptop from hell. That impacted our election. And they think that what they did was patriotic. They think that they're patriots. But really, they're all just Benedict Arnolds. Let's call it for what it is. It's an absolute joke. And when they say Donald Trump is out for retribution, he's out for revenge, I say good. Good. These losers and nerds need to be held accountable. And I'm not talking about mob justice in the streets. I'm talking about a courtroom and evidence and proving it beyond a reasonable doubt and then have them sentenced for their crimes because they gaslit the American public for years and we knew it was a lie. We said it was a lie and we were silenced on social media. Donald Trump says it's a lie and he's shut down by 60 Minutes. Donald Trump says it's a lie and the moderator of the debate says, whoa, guys, we can't do that. And then we let time go on. And it's another point on the board for the conspiracy theorists. We're running up the score. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
We've got what a new poll has about former President Trump and young voters. We've got traffic problems, too. I-40 eastbound off-ramp to Donaldson Pike is blocked by a vehicle fire. I-440 westbound before Nolensville Pike, the right lane is blocked by a crash. Then at Talbot's Corner, I-65 northbound at Trinity Lane, right shoulder blocked by a crash. And then pothole fixing, blocking the left two lanes of I-24 eastbound right there in Laverne. Again, top stories coming up at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Big hype for Ken Weaver's newscast. He always delivers the goods.
Yes.
It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, Johnny B producing, Ken Weaver in the newsroom. You guys on the Members Nutrition text line and the phone lines, 615-737-9986. The Members Nutrition text line has devolved into everyone referring to us as toadies and frog emojis. Just wanted to put that out there.
Toadies.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Nancy, we love the vodka skeleton. All right, but it's not all doom and gloom, okay? I want to give you some hope. So on the way, we're going to talk about the West rising again. We're seeing election victories for conservative parties all over the world, which is very cool to see. Justin Trudeau is very, very terrified about it. And I also want to play this for you right now. So we'll do the West Rising again after 10 o'clock, after Ken's newscast. But real quick, I want to give you hope for Gen Z, okay? And let you know that the guys that we have coming behind us and girls, they're red-pilled and they're based. This is how Gen Z views the world currently, right now, today. Oh, hang on. Here we go.
So all those nerds in high school, like the weird theater kids and the anime people, and you know who I'm talking about, the people we didn't hang out with. So they've grown up now, and they're the ones making the laws. They're the Mark Zuckerbergs. They're the Faucis of the world of nerds. Those dorks that never got laid in high school, and they've got a major chip on their shoulder against the normies. That's why you see all these fat making laws. Oh, you can be obese and anorexic. Okay, sure. They're the ones inventing clown world. They're the ones in media. They're the actors. You wonder why actors are so politically leftist? Oh, right. It's because they're loser theater kids. They're the theater kids who grew up, and now they're telling me and you what to think. They're telling me and you what to do, and they're making the laws in this country. Well, it's time to stand the up and stop being scared. Like, why are we scared of these people? They were massive losers in high school, and they're massive losers today. It's time to put the nerds back in their place. Stand the up.
Make nerds scared again 2024. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Tell you about the heat wave on the way during the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now, election 2024 news. A new simulation by 538 is favorable for former President Trump. Here's ABC News political director Rick Klein.
Let's imagine a scenario where young voters don't turn up as much, and maybe they vote a little bit more third party than they have in the past, and then a big flip, Arizona going red, for instance, and Donald Trump is then the victor in a scenario like that. A very realistic scenario.
538 finds about zero chance a third party candidate like Bobby Kennedy Jr. could actually win the presidency, but a very large possibility, a 2 in 3 chance that candidates like Kennedy are going to have more votes for them than the difference between Biden and Trump in key battlegrounds. So there's a big potential for someone to play spoiler. A court hearing scheduled next week over another leak of Covenant school shooter documents here in Nashville. The Tennessee Star and editor Michael Patrick Leahy claimed to have more than 80 pages and a suicide note from a source close to the investigation. The last time documents were leaked, Judge Aisha Miles threatened contempt of court against anyone who did it again. Now she's ordered the Tennessee Star and Leahy to appear in her courtroom on Monday to show cause as to why they did not violate her order through the alleged publication of leaked documents. And your attempt to stay healthy by taking an afternoon hike in the hills could leave you with a long-term and potentially life-threatening condition. Jim Ryan tells us about the tiny arachnid that's responsible.
It's called the Lone Star tick because of the white star-shaped spot on its back. And if it bites you...
Some people get hives, wheezing, shortness of breath, chest tightness.
Oklahoma physician Dean Atkinson says some people develop a sudden and serious allergy to beef, pork, and lamb.
It's a transmitted allergy from ticks to red meat products.
The Lone Star tick is found in the central, southeast, and eastern United States, but etymologists say its range is expanding.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Good morning. It's 10:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The West is rising. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? The energy's high. We're coming back. We're on the comeback trail. We're on like a 10-0 run right now. You know what I mean? We still got a little bit of a lead to make up. But we're doing good.
Yeah, we are.
We're doing all right.
I'm feeling pretty good.
The energy's high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it crawl.
So, do you know who Tommy Robinson is? Conservative guy out of London. He always gets getting arrested always for hate speech because he says things like there's two genders. You know what I mean? Like he really saves it for the controversial things. And so he's always getting arrested. He's always getting in trouble. He was doing a rally in London. This is last week, and this is just the power of Trump and how he's become a global force and changing politics in other countries.
And every American who's watching this, your election in November is far bigger than your country, okay? Donald Trump is needed in this world to bring back peace. His leadership is needed to save the West. All of our countries are being flooded. They are destroying our cultures. They're bringing us down. It's an attack on the West. There's only one person who's going to stop it. You have the opportunity in November with these legends.
He says, Donald Trump will save the West. And many Western countries are seeing what's going on. We're not the only ones dealing with mass illegal migration. Germany's dealing with it. France is dealing with it. England is dealing with it. The Netherlands are dealing with it. You can go down the list. Europe is dealing with it. And people are fed up. And we're seeing the West rising. We're seeing the West rising. Macron, our boy, the frog from France, he was trounced by Marine Le Pen's populists at Europarl elections. Immediately, he dissolved parliament, and he's calling for snap national elections. Le Pen's National Populist Party got twice as many votes as the governing group of Emmanuel Macron's globalist losers in Sunday's European Parliament election. It prompted Macron to immediately dissolve the national parliament and call for fresh French elections in a bid to regain authority for the remainder of his presidential term. Shortly after Macron announced that he was calling for fresh elections to, buttress his position, National Rally leader Marine Le Pen, who she ran against Macron before. She's like the female French Trump, essentially. She's probably not as cool, probably not as good, but the best we got, right? Marine Le Pen took to a stage at her group's election night party in Paris and declared their readiness to fight the snap election, hailing the progress of right-wing parties across Europe as the dawn of a new day dawning for all the nations and peoples of Europe. She's expressing hope that the result would finally comprehensively close the painful globalist interlude which has caused the people of the world to suffer. Le Pen said it also confirmed to the RN as the great force for change in France. Great force for change. Now, a lot of people say, Europe is lost. Europe is already lost. But, Spain was under Muslim control for like 700 years. Like, they're a resilient bunch. And she's saying things that the French want to hear. She went on the national stage and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, dear compatriots, the French have expressed themselves, and this historic election shows when the people vote, the people win. The president has just announced the dissolution of the National Assembly to return the people to the polls in a few weeks' time. I can only welcome this. We are ready for it. We are ready to exercise power if the French put their trust in us. In these new national elections, we are ready to restore the country, to defend the interests of the French people. We are ready to put an end to mass immigration, ready to build the strength of the economy, to begin the reindustrialization of the country. To be clear, we are ready to straighten out the country, and we are ready to relive France. Let's go." So when I was in San Antonio over the weekend at Young Women's Leadership Summit, and believe it or not, every time I go to one of these turning point events, European press is always heavily woven in, because the European press, they see what's happening in their countries and they see what's happening here, and they're taking note. And I think leaders around the world are taking note when they see the French elections. And it's not just French. Germany as well. Massive political earthquake in Germany. The liberal Green Party lost 18% of young voters, while the AfD, the far right party, the extremists, made a stunning 10% gain. Young voters all over the world are done with the left. They're done. And the New York Post has an article saying that these populist victories are sending a message to the Europeans, to the politicians. The headline reads, "Can the European Union hear us now?" Can you hear us now? Good. Voters across Europe spent the weekend sending a message to the EU's political class. A nationalist and populist shift is happening across the continent. The European parliamentary election held over the past few days saw the biggest wins for nationalist and populist parties in the European Union's history. As the results poured in across Europe, the media spun the news as an ominous far-right victory throughout Europe. News outlets made it seem like fascism is coming back and rearing its ugly head over Europe after 8 decades of liberal peace and prosperity. But this couldn't be further from the truth, the New York Post reports. The so-called far-right resurrection is really just the mainstreaming of widespread and rising anger as ordinary voters across Europe are focused on issues that the establishment parties in Europe have refused to touch. For decades, the globalists in Brussels have promised the people of Europe that mass immigration wouldn't affect their culture and could deliver mass prosperity, that a green economy could unlock an economic boom and save the planet, and that fears of Islamic terrorism were merely racist. But we know that that's not true. There's been no peace and prosperity. There's been no economic boom. And the fears of Islamic terrorism have been proven correct time and time again. We can go down a long list if you'd like, whether it comes from trucks of peace crashing through Christmas parades in Germany, or in Germany just the other day, there was a far-right rally where the police stopped the far-right protesters as an Islamic individual came up, and he was very upset at the rally. And as the police were restraining the far-right agitators, the nice, peaceful Muslim stabbed and killed a police officer. I believe he died. I have to double check that. He might just be in critical condition, but the video was insane. I mean, you had a police officer tackle a far-right extremist, and from behind, a Muslim comes and attacks him with a knife. I mean, this is the reality in Germany, where both center left and progressive political establishments, they've ushered in a series of terrible ideas for more than a decade. My dad always says, and I say this a bit because this is one of the things that's always really stuck with me, that he said, look at Europe and know that we're 10 years away from that in America. Well, I look at Europe today, and if we're on a track where the conservatives are rising across the world, I think that this is good news for us in the future. But for more than a decade, Germany's been dealing with this kind of stuff. It's no wonder they're upset. I mean, Angela Merkel, she allowed in 1.7 million refugees into the country. Olaf Scholz had an ambition to push a green economy that has led to 2 years of near zero economic growth in Germany. Are people shocked when they say enough is enough? So Alternative for Germany, or AfD, Deutschland, they're a bombastic nationalist populist party. And they emerged out of that frustration in 2013. And AfD leaders, they say, have had their foots in their mouths on a couple occasions with what they call extremist rhetoric. I'd have to hear the examples, because one man's extremism is another man's conservatism. But the level of scrutiny placed on them has dwarfed any other party in Europe. They were investigated by the federal government. They were heavily fined. Several prominent politicians have been called on to be banned outright. Despite all this controversy, the AfD came in second place when Germans voted in the EU parliamentary elections, with exit polls showing it as the most popular political party among young voters in the former East Germany, blue-collar workers, and voters under the age of 25. All these groups felt compelled to vote for the nationalists, no matter how unbecoming their messaging in polite society, because the system as it stands is not working for the people. Mass immigration, left-wing economics, that's making life harder for not just German citizens, but citizens around the world. It's making people feel like strangers in their own country. And that's why we see these rises in Germany and in France. And that's why we see the anger from the left. Nigel Farage has been campaigning. He's on the campaign trail in England. And he's been the subject of attempted physical assaults, 2 in a week since returning to the front line of British politics. A protester hurled objects from a building site as he went by. He's the Brexit pioneer and now the Reform UK leader, and he's campaigning in support of his local candidate in Barnsley, South Yorkshire, on Tuesday. And he was being greeted by waving supporters, the video he published showed, and then an object was thrown, narrowly missing Farage, by a man wearing a red shirt shouting, fascist, fascist scum. When you see this anger, when you see people acting like this, it's because we're winning. It's because we're winning. The unidentified man appeared to have barged his way onto the roadside construction site and picked up another object from a storage bin among the building materials and threw that before being manhandled away by the construction workers. Running from the scene, the man was tackled by a police officer. But you see this and just know they're upset because we're winning. They're upset because we're winning. So what happens next? The West is rising. Well, Justin Trudeau is quite nervous about it because there's a guy in Canada, Pierre Poilievre. I can't pronounce his last name. I always try. I do my best, but I can't quite get it. The French tang on it, twang. But Trudeau is nervous. Trudeau is nervous about the right winning elections throughout Europe because he looks at it and he knows what time it is and he thinks, maybe I'm next.
We have seen around the world a rise of populist right-wing forces in just about every democracy that we've seen. And it is of concern to see political parties choosing to instrumentalize anger, fear, division, anxiety.
You know, this is what really drives me nuts because Mr. Trudeau, that's what your party did during COVID. You instrumentalized fear, anger, anxiety. That's what all these liberal governments are doing. Because fear is how they control people. Anxiety is how they control people. That's how they keep you under their thumb.
My approach has always been to respond to it, to understand it, and to look to solve it.
To freeze bank accounts of trucker convoy protesters, right? That's how Justin Trudeau responds.
Roll up our sleeves, work hard, and with ambition for this country and for our future. And I continue to be convinced that Canadians are thoughtful about the challenges we're facing and ready to see them solved, rather than just allow themselves to be have their anger amplified without any solutions offered.
No, and you know what? If their anger wants to be amplified without any solutions, they'll vote for Trudeau. They will. But people are angry, and they understand that there's a different way. Which way, Western man? Well, most of the West is rising. And they're saying, these liberal policies, these progressives, these globalists, we've had enough. It's 10:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I'm here for my friends at the Glock Store. Let me tell you about the Glock Store. We've been there a bunch. We were there last week for the open house. I've been there training. And one of the things that sets the Glock Store's Shoot 270 ranges apart from all the other indoor ranges that you've ever been to is that it's not a range. There's no lanes. It's an individual shooting room with a private instructor. So no shared lanes. Because, I mean, when you're sharing a lane, who are you sharing it with? You have no idea who that person next to you is. But when you're at the Glock store in the Shoot 270 rooms, you know exactly who your private instructor is. I was training with Kevin. Highly recommend it. Great guy. But all of the staff at the Glock store is fantastic. So anyway, at the open house last week, I'm doing what I do. I'm being nosy. I'm poking around. I'm looking at things. And I saw a bunch of flyers on their classes. And I got to tell you, they have some really, really cool classes. For example, there's one coming up Friday and Saturday on precision rifle marksmanship. And you'll never believe who they got to train this class. They have the best. They have the best, the Glock store. But the instructor for the precision rifle marksmanship course is a former Army sniper. And he's going to teach you how to hit your target from nearly half a mile away. Yeah, nuts. Friday afternoon is going to be classroom instruction. It's going to really help you dial in your rig and learn the intricacies of long-distance ballistics. And then Saturday, all day at the farm, baby. The McGill Family Farm and private shooting facility where you'll be pinging steel from 700 meters. There's only 10 students per class. They keep it small so that way they can keep it kind of intimate and you can really get your time with the instructor. But there's a few slots left. Not for long, but currently there's a few slots left. If you want to be pinging steel from 700 meters and training with a former Army sniper, visit glockstore.com/training and then click on classes to get more information on all the great classes at my favorite training facility, Shoot 270, only at the Glock store, which is minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
This is Ken Weaver in the 24-hour news center at Supertalk 99.7 WTN, where a verdict has been reached in the Hunter Biden gun trial, and that is guilty on all three counts. Also, I can tell you that according to Terry Moran, who is reporting for ABC News from outside the Wilmington, Delaware courtroom, that the defense will appeal, which is pretty customary in this case. So there will be an appeal, but for now, as it stands, Hunter Biden, the president's son, has been found guilty on all three counts in the gun trial. Prosecutors accusing Hunter Biden of lying on federal forms in order to buy a firearm back in 2018. And we'll have more reaction to this and other top news coming up at 10:30 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. So Hunter Biden's guilty.
Guilty.
Do we start doing the convicted felon thing, or are we just going to let the left do that? You know what I mean?
Let's see if it happens.
Okay.
Let's see if that's what the mainstream uses, because, boy, they sure are want to do it whenever it involves 45.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I do want to say, though, this is a trial in Delaware, right?
Yep.
That's the Biden stomping ground.
That's Biden's home base.
I don't want Americans to be like, we got him, because the true crimes of the Biden crime family remain untouched. There's a lot more under the surface with the Bidens. And I personally, I feel like this is just trying to throw the conservatives a bone, essentially, and make the justice system seem fair. But, he's a convicted felon, so that's a good thing, right? I guess. I'm not too excited. I don't want to get overjoyed, over the moon. I felt like this would happen.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more under the surface that we need to get to the bottom of. A lot more. So the 54-year-old, smartest guy the resident-in-chief knows, he faces a maximum sentence of 25 years in prison for the charges related to lying on a federal screening form and possessing the firearm illegally. The charges stem from Biden's alleged drug use at the time of purchasing the firearm, and federal law prohibits the use of illicit drugs from possessing firearms. You've all done the little paperwork. You've all checked the box, right? You know what he did. So the biggest thing for me that came out of this trial isn't the guilty verdict. It's the fact that they confirmed the laptop was real. The FBI did. The FBI also confirmed that the laptop had not been hacked, interfered with, tampered with. That's a big takeaway because personally, I feel like there are a lot more crimes on that laptop that we need to dig into. And they're on record now saying nobody tampered with it. They're on record saying it's his.
Yep.
And yet we still have the ex-Intel officials, the 51, that signed the letter saying it was Russian disinformation, standing by that letter.
51 of them.
They should all be, they should at the very least be questioned and interrogated.
Reality is catching up to the narratives.
It's like the thing they say, a lie can make it around the world 2 times before the truth gets up and puts its pants on. That's what we're seeing in real time when it comes to J6, when it comes to the Hunter laptop, when it comes to everything. It's a good rule of thumb that if the mainstream media lands on a narrative, at least look into the opposite, because it very well could be true. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Verdict reached in Hunter Biden gun trial. Guilty on all 3 counts. Reaction on that in a moment. But first, let me tell you about the traffic problems here in Nashville. This one's in Murfreesboro. You got a crash blocking the left lane of 24 westbound right there at Church Street. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. So the jury in Hunter Biden's gun trial says guilty on all 3 counts. This for lying on federal forms in order to buy a firearm back in 2018 to the question as to whether or not you are currently addicted to drugs. Terry Moran from outside the courtroom in Wilmington, Delaware.
The defense was fighting an uphill battle, not only really against the facts, but against the law as the judge gave it to the jurors here. Now, I should say that in court, the defense, as is customary, right after the conviction was announced, renewed an appeal for an acquittal from the judge in order to preserve an appeal, and gave notice essentially that they will appeal this case.
Guilty charges bring a penalty of up to 25 years in prison. We'll have to see if that comes about. Also, one more quick thing. Fox News Digital says Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg and prosecutor Matthew Colangelo have agreed to testify publicly before the House Judiciary Committee next month, the day after former President Trump is sentenced in the hush money case. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's 10:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I got to tell you about my friends at Paul Winkler Inc. You know Paul. I know Paul. We all know Paul. He's been hosting the Investor Coaching Show for over 20 years. 2+ decades. We run it every Saturday from 3 to 6 here on WTN. But you may not know, or you probably do because I've told you a couple times, he got that show and started it after he spent time studying under an economist who went on to win a Nobel Prize. That's how Paul really got in the industry. That's how he learned a lot. That's pretty cool. He's also an avid collector of financial planning designations. He has up to 8 now. So, of course, my wife and I work with Paul. We get paid. I get paid to do the commercials. Paul wants to make sure I tell you that, but I don't get paid to be a client. I chose to be a client, and it's because I trust Paul. We listened to his show before I got my own show here, and we were learning from him. We were learning from his Saturday show. every single weekend. It was like appointment listening for us. And when I came on board, it was just an easy choice. This was the firm I wanted to work with. And it's because they hold themselves to the highest level of fiduciary status. It's because Paul's team does nothing on commission. It's because they educate you every step of the way, so you never get that uneasy feeling of blind trust. And the education is like 24/7. At least with me and Paul, I text him at all hours of the night, random questions, and he'll say, calm down. You're looking at a very close-up of a graph. You need to zoom out and look at the whole picture. And Paul does that with everything. He'll look at your whole financial picture because that's going to be unique to you, and then help you make decisions. They help you every step of the way. They focus on education. If you need somebody to point you in the right direction when it comes to your financial future, set up a 15-minute phone call today with Paul and his team. Just go to paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Hunter Biden is guilty. So so funny. Ken popped in here after his newscast and he said, I think you need to refer to Joe Biden as father of convicted felon Hunter Biden from now on. We'll do our best. We'll do our best. We know that the left-wing media, they're very excited to call Trump a convicted felon. So the president, Joe Biden, father of convicted felon Hunter Biden, He's not doing too good. Tough day for the Bidens. And even crazier is with that trial. Did you know that Jill Biden was going back and forth from France to Delaware for that trial? Back and forth.
Just racking up those air miles.
Well, Joe's got to have a handler, right?
Sure, yeah. Just to make sure he doesn't stumble off the
in case he has an accident.
Path, yeah.
Yeah. So Jill had a 3,600-mile round trip from France to Delaware to spend 2 days at Hunter's trial.
Holy cow.
They're saying it could cost up to $345,000. Taxpayer money.
I had to pay for my own flights for vacation last week. That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And where's all the climate change as an existential threat, people? Taxpayers are picking up the majority of the cost for Jill Biden's whirlwind flights between Wilmington, Delaware, and France so she could be at Hunter's side during his federal gun trial. And the Democratic Party is going to chip in some funds, but she racked up $345,400 in flight costs. That's what the National Taxpayers Union Foundation estimated, because she was boomeranging back between the United States and France last week, traveling separately from Joe, the father of a convicted felon, so she could support her family while also representing the United States abroad. And her political party is going to repay the government for what it would cost her to fly commercially, with taxpayers footing the rest of the bill. Can you imagine Jill in a commercial flight?
Hey, sorry, I want this armrest. That one's mine.
Yeah.
I chose the middle seat. I get the armrest.
I would not want to sit next to her on a flight.
Awful.
Yeah, that'd be terrible. It's probably better that she was flying solo.
Yeah, just to save everybody the hassle of having to deal with her.
I know. And the bad week for Joe Biden continues. Joe Biden, father of convicted felon Hunter Biden, he has the lowest approval rating of all time, 37.4%. President Joe Biden's approval rating has hit an all-time low of 37.4%. The low number comes at the worst possible time. We're weeks away from a debate. We're in the midst of the 2024 election season. And according to 538 senior editor and senior elections analyst Nathaniel Rakich, 538's average approval rating for Biden hit the all-time low of 37.4% on Monday. The lowest record approval rating for the president comes amid the ongoing immigration crisis at the southern border, as well as wars going on in the Middle East. You know, I will say this. He may have a low approval rating among American citizens, but when it comes to illegal aliens, they love him. And one illegal alien from Turkey was interviewed at the border, and he said just that.
What do you think of President Biden?
Biden, I love Biden.
Why do you love him?
Biden help us.
We love Biden, says the illegal aliens. We love him. He helps us. Of course. In a recent poll, 62% of Americans have said that they would approve of mass deportation efforts in the U.S., including a majority of Hispanic voters. The border continues to dog Biden as one of the top issues that voters are concerned with around the country, and this is despite him taking the executive action at the border, which reportedly will not stop at least 1.5 million illegal immigrants coming into the U.S. each year.
Biden, I love Biden.
Yeah, we love him, says the illegal aliens. The poll that measured the deportation effort also showed, among other top issues that voters care about. This included the economy as well as inflation. A couple topics that are not a top concern for the majority of Americans include race and diversity, as well as climate change. No. Americans care about things that matter.
Biden, I love Biden.
Yeah, you can't vote. You're not allowed. And CNN is covering the border crisis. They're not, it's the craziest thing. They're covering the gangs that are coming across the border, but they're not pointing at whose fault it is, which is Joe Biden and his administration. Joe Biden, of course, the father of convicted felon Hunter Biden. They're not pointing at Joe. They're just pointing every which way they can to, not make the president look bad, but still do the news. CNN was reporting on Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang. And spoiler alert, they are in the United States of America currently. This is a very violent and dangerous gang.
For the last several years, they have terrorized multiple South American countries. Police in the region say a Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Aragua has victimized thousands through extortion, drug and human trafficking, kidnapping, and murder. And now U.S. law enforcement, including Customs and Border Protection and the FBI, say the gang has made their way into the country.
Yep, so CNN reports that this gang is in the country. They're coming from Venezuela. On the flip side of the dial, Fox News is reporting on Biden's executive order. And they're talking about a memo that was sent to Border Patrol that essentially contradicts Biden's executive order.
We're just outside of the San Diego metropolitan, and all weekend long, our crews have seen a consistent flow of illegal immigration here into this area. And just a few days ago, President Biden addressed the nation, promising that he would end the flow of illegal migration into the country, and those who try will be punished. However, a new memo obtained by Fox News indicates that the order being given to Border Patrol agents here on the ground is contradictory to what President Biden promised the nation. The memo instructs agents to continue mass releasing single adult migrants into the United States from all but 6 countries in the Eastern Hemisphere. Those countries are Russia, Georgia, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Moldova, and Kyrgyzstan, meaning all the migrants we are seeing in real time coming from China, Egypt, countries in Africa, they are being released.
So that would also mean that if you're coming from Venezuela and you're a member of the dangerous gang that CNN's reporting on, Tren de Aragua, you're also being released. Chinese nationals being released. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Now, back to the CNN reporting. It's confirmed, and a former Venezuelan police officer tells them that they're in the country, and he fled Venezuela because of how dangerous this gang is. And this is from the same country that Biden and his administration are letting these people into our country. They're letting them be released.
The FBI El Paso can confirm that members of Tren de Aragua have crossed into the United States.
Alvaro Bosa, a former Venezuelan police officer now living in Florida, says he fled his country in large part because the gang had become so powerful they could kill law enforcement like him with impunity. Bosa says a fellow police officer who refused to cooperate with the gang was shot 50 times.
He refused and was murdered. They tied his body to a motorcycle and dragged it throughout the San Vicente neighborhood to demonstrate the power of the Tren de Agua.
They have followed the migration paths across South America to other countries and have set up criminal groups throughout South America as they follow those paths, and that they appear to have followed the migration north to the United States.
And the memo that Biden sends to Border Patrol outlines 6 countries that you're not allowed to release illegal immigrants from, right? None of those countries are Venezuela. And CNN's reporting on this dangerous gang. They're reporting on the crimes that they commit, and they don't say Joe's letting them come into the country. They don't bring that up. They omit that. It's lies by omission. There's a little bit of truth in this reporting when they're talking about Tren de Aragua on CNN. But they omit the big issue, that the border's wide open because of Joe Biden. The border's wide open because of the administration we have, and they're doing nothing to stop the influx of illegals. They send out a nice executive order, but it's still going to allow 1.5 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. And they're not stopping people from Venezuela. They're not stopping gangs like Tren de Aragua, even though Border Patrol is arresting some members of the gang.
U.S. Border Patrol Chief Jason Owens, who has confirmed multiple arrests of alleged Tren de Aragua members over the last year, issued a warning in early April after reporting yet another arrest. Watch out for this gang, he said. It is the most powerful in Venezuela, known for murder, drug trafficking, sex crimes, extortion, and other violent acts.
You know, and I talked about a headline that Politico ran yesterday that Trump is using extreme immigration rhetoric. Okay. Well, Biden is letting in extreme gang members into the country. Gang members that commit the most horrific crimes. But the left-wing media is always more concerned about the rhetoric than the crime. Because an American citizen is just collateral damage for what these globalists and communists want to accomplish. November can't get here soon enough. And again, while CNN does some good reporting on Tren de Aragua, and they're actually telling you who they are, they don't point the finger at the Biden administration for letting them in. They don't bring up the fact that a memo was sent to Border Patrol agents that contradicts Joe Biden's executive order. And the internal memo says migrants outside of those 6 countries are to be released. None of those countries are Venezuela.
The internal memo reads in part, Border Patrol agents are ordered to refer to ICE single adults from hard or very hard to remove countries. Those are the 6. All other migrants are processed and released with a notice to appear on their own recognizance. And we've been talking to migrants from all over the world arriving here into the San Diego sector. I talked to one man from Turkey. Here's what he had to say. What do you think of President Biden?
Biden, I love Biden.
Why do you love Biden?
Because Biden, we love.
Why do you love him?
Biden help us.
Why do you love him? Well, because he's just the best. He puts illegal aliens first. Not American citizens. Illegal aliens. You only need to have your eyes half open to see what's going on. And when they say that Trump is using extreme rhetoric, just remind these people, a majority of voters, most Hispanics, would back a national program to deport these illegal aliens. They understand what they fled, and they don't want that coming here any more than you do. A strong majority of registered voters, including most Hispanics, would support a national program to deport illegal aliens from the United States. According to a CBS News YouGov poll, the poll was published Sunday, found that 62% of registered voters would back a new national program to deport all undocumented immigrants currently living in the U.S. illegally. That's CBS's verbiage. I call them illegal aliens, not undocumented immigrants. 38% of voters would oppose such a program. Who are these 38? Do they watch the news? Like actual news, not fake news. And a majority of Hispanics would support the deportation of illegal aliens en masse. 53 to 47. That's a majority. And I think that the time for calling this what do Hispanics think about it? Well, do Hispanics have any ties to Egypt and Pakistan and China? Do Hispanics have any ties to Northern Africa? Honestly, it's not just a Hispanic thing. It's a wide open southern border thing. And it's time to put Americans first. That's why Americans support a national deportation effort. We got more on the way. Hang out with us. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com. and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Reaction after guilty verdicts in the Hunter Biden gun trial coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. The reactions on the members nutrition text line have been priceless. I've gotten about 10 texts saying, would that make Hunter the smartest convicted felon Joe has ever known? Yep, it does. It does. Unbelievable. 3185 says, and where's the prosecution of China Biden? We're waiting. We're waiting. Patiently. Yeah. China. Yep, that's it. You can hit it again. It's all right. Thank you. Thank you.
How about one more time for the road?
All right, one for the road. Oh, that's my favorite.
I think that's I love that one
That
too.
was my favorite. That's
the last one we got there.
All right. John texted in, he said, can Joe just pardon Hunter? He could. He's on record saying he won't. But I think that's a joke. Like,
oh, for sure, yeah.
Just being a dad, taking the Bidens out of this, what dad wouldn't pardon his kid?
Oh, absolutely. I could 100% see him doing it for the familial ties.
It would have to be a really different, horrific kind of crime to not pardon your own kid.
Yeah.
Lying on the form, yeah, he's going to get pardoned.
Absolutely.
Or Joe is just as bad of a father as everybody says. You know what I mean? Which is also fair. That could also be very true. We could be proven right about that.
It would show that he's asleep at more than one wheel for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would pardon my kids 100%. Just do dad things. Like,
yeah.
Everybody would. Everybody would. But in the meantime, we have the border wide open. We have the economy in shambles, and everybody is looking at this presidential election going like, yeah, let's go. We need to get there. And the media is losing their mind. They're losing their mind because they look at the poll numbers. They see what's happening. They understand the energy. They're not going to go on TV and say it, but they're doing everything they can to demonize Trump. Listen to Anna Navarro from The View. Also, I saw the picture of her. It didn't say her name when I was looking on Twitter. So I was like, okay, which one is that? And I had to Google it because I don't know all the views on purpose. But I pulled up Anna Navarro, and you know on her Wikipedia page, it has her listed as a Republican? What? So this is what the Republican on The View, Anna Navarro, thinks of Trump.
You take him in for a neurological exam. Donald Trump is senile, incoherent, crazy, offensive, outrageous, disgusting, evil, and convicted.
It's good to see that The View is keeping it fair and biased by having a Republican on the panel. That's nice. That's the Republican. That's the Republican. What a joke.
He's crazy.
All right, we got more on the way, including audio from Joe Biden's Juneteenth event. He knows he's losing support with everybody. And black voters, it's a huge voting block for them. They need it. They need it. So they got to throw a big Juneteenth shindig, right? Awkward as all get out. I got that audio for you on the way after Ken Weaver's newscast on Super Talk.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Still looking at a heat wave later this week. Got the timing during the full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. President Biden is now the father of a convicted felon. Here's Sherry Preston.
President Biden's son Hunter has been convicted on all counts in his federal gun trial. The case centering on the paperwork he filled out in 2018 to buy a firearm. At the time, he said he was not addicted to drugs, which prosecutors disputed in court. ABC News senior national correspondent Terry Moran outside the courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware, says it didn't take the jury very long to reach its decision.
The jury was out for about 3 hours total. 1 hour yesterday, 2 hours today. They had no questions for the judge during their deliberations that we have heard of at this point. And so this was a relatively swift verdict.
ABC News world news anchor David Muir asked President Biden last week about the verdict and a possible pardon.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Again, Hunter Biden found guilty on 3 federal counts.
Next step now, sentencing, where the maximum time is in total 25 years in prison. Hunter Biden's defense team says it will appeal. Fox News Digital says Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg and prosecutor Matthew Colangelo have agreed to testify publicly to the House Judiciary Committee the day after former President Trump is sentenced in the hush money case. Sentencing's July 11th. Bragg and Colangelo testimony would be July 12th. Meanwhile, the Justice Department tells House Republicans it has conducted a search to see if there might be emails between senior Justice Department officials and the Manhattan DA's office. The letter says, quote, "We found none." Republicans have pointed to the late 2022 departure of DOJ official Matthew Colangelo, who left his post in D.C. for the DA's office. The department says it found no applicable emails in his account either. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
11:08 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We're having a fun day. Hunter Biden has been found guilty. That's pretty cool. I like that. You like that? I feel like it's a pretty good day for all of us. Maybe it's one of those days that we should play this again. Hang on. You ready? All right, pull that down for me, and let's do little. We'll have a little fun. You want to have a little fun?
I'm always up for a little fun.
Shout out to Bass Records. Hey, yo, Hunter. Roll up another one of them congressional blunts, brother. He was gonna get his laptop fixed, but Hunter got high. He wasn't gonna show all them pics, but Hunter got high. He should've let Hillary bleach his whole hard drive. Yeah, Hunter got high. Hunter got high. Hunter got high.
And convicted.
He wasn't gonna mess with the hoes, but Hunter got high. He was gonna take them all out on the boat, but Hunter got high. He's the smartest man Joe ever knew.
And now he's a felon.
In his life, yeah, till Hunter got high. Hunter got high. Hunter got high. La-da-da-da-da. He was gonna go visit his dad, but Hunter got high. He thought he had a secret stash, but Hunter got high. The White House got shut down. We all know why. Yeah, Hunter got high. Hunter got high. Hunter got high.
It's 11:10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're reacting to the conviction of Hunter Biden. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Big fan. Big fan of that happening. Apparently, though, Joe Biden got to the courthouse after Hunter's guilty verdict.
In front of the jury. And when you pursue a nullification strategy, it can go too far sometimes. It make the jury feel like they're being treated as chumps. And I think that here the jury followed their instructions.
Jonathan, excuse me, we're seeing the First Lady Jill Biden walk into the courthouse. So it's taken a little bit longer for all of the family members.
So she could get there on time, no stress when she was, traveling back from France, but when she's, just a state away, she gets there after the guilty verdict. It's a wild time in America, you guys. Do you ever just stop and kind of look around and go, wow, we get to live through this. How blessed are we? It's just that everything's a joke. It's clown world. And last night's event, the Juneteenth event at the White House, was just as much of a clown world as everything else. Joe Biden knows he needs to win over black voters. He's trying to do his best. And there's videos of him awkwardly standing there frozen while the music is playing. There's videos of him on the internet of him trying to clap his hands to the beat, but he's got no rhythm. It honestly was sad. It honestly was sad. But he made the most of his moment, and when he had time to get up there and say a few words, he did what everybody expected him to do, and he demonized Republicans.
They're all ghosts in new garments trying to take us back.
They're all ghosts in new garments trying to take us back. Isn't that amazing? We're racist. Are you trying to call us Klan members? Is that what you're doing? I think that's what he's doing.
They're all ghosts in new garments trying to take us back.
Joe sounds extra sleepy.
Well, there are. Taking away your freedoms, making it harder for black people to vote.
That is always the craziest talking point to me. Making it harder for black people to vote. It's always the Democrats with the racism and the bigotry of low expectations, right? Oh, black people don't know where to get an ID. How could they vote? We can't do that. Black people don't know what the internet is, says Governor Kathy Hochul in New York. It's always the bigotry of low expectations.
Or have your vote counted. Closing doors of opportunity. Attacking the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you can believe it, banning books about black experiences. Okay.
And then came the June bug down Joe's throat.
What is that?
It's June bugs, man.
If you can believe it, banning books about black experiences. Okay.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Experiences. Okay.
I mean, actually, you know what? This is how I feel about Joe Biden's presidential term so far. Okay. You think Joe's doing a good job? Okay.
Email me that clip. I need that clip in my life.
Do you think Joe can get his? Do you think Joe's going to get his approval rating up anytime soon? Okay. That's his best attempt, for the record, to win people over. Let's demonize Republicans, and we'll have the extra large teleprompters for you, sir, and just read what's there.
Holy cow.
Man, it has been a rough couple of weeks.
Part of me, like there's a tiny bit that's like me being selfish, where if Joe loses in November, what do we do for content? Because this stuff doesn't grow on trees. This kind of stuff isn't readily available all the time.
No.
What are we gonna do? Have to cover the news, I guess. I don't know.
Just get him to speak at Hunter's 8 other trials that'll be coming out.
Goodness.
It's too good.
I mean, and I could go into exactly what he said, banning books, but you know the score on that.
Yeah.
They're taking porn out of libraries for kids, right? Erasing history. He says, shutting down opportunities for black folks. Like, what about the millions of illegal aliens that you've imported and are now in New York City taking jobs from American citizens, right? Is that not ending opportunities for African Americans? I understand that you're gaslighting us, but let's deal in facts, right? Let's look at the facts on this. Jobs are going to immigrants. Jobs are not going to Americans. And we've seen that time and time again. The Center for Immigration Studies just posted research yesterday saying just that. 972,000 jobs since Joe Biden took office, since 2021 went to American citizens. Over 3 million went to immigrants. So who's really taking the opportunities away from the black community? Who's taking those opportunities? Joe is systematically watering down the vote of the black voter bloc by bringing in all the immigrants. So who's taking that away from them? Then there's one point in the Juneteenth speech where he starts with, I'll be honest, he started with a good line. He's talking about black soldiers and, being a part of American history. And I'm like, okay, he's doing his thing. But then he just loses the plot right at the end.
These black soldiers were a link in a distinguished line of patriots, enslaved and freed, who risked their lives in every war since the founding of our ideals. We don't know fully what American soil is. Equality and freedom.
Since the founding of our ideals, we don't know what American soil is.
Since the founding of our ideals, we don't know fully what American soil is.
Oh my goodness.
We don't know fully what American soil is.
Goodness.
This is Joe.
How long are they gonna let him do this, man?
I don't know, but I can't wait to see the cleaned up transcript from that. The editors are furiously trying to clean that up because they'll release a transcript of his speech and they'll take out the flubs, they'll take out the errors. And then you get people like Karine Jean-Pierre who hit the podium and say, you got to be able to trust what I say. And we all go, what? What?
Now, when I address the press from the White House podium, the only thing that stands between me and getting our message out to the American public is whether the people sitting in those chairs and the folks watching at home feel like they can trust me.
What?
Oh.
No, we don't feel like we can trust you. And to be fair, I don't trust really any White House press secretary. You're a PR person.
Exactly.
For the White House. Like, you're supposed to spin and do your thing to make the president look good. That's the job.
Yeah.
Nobody should trust any press secretary. Don't trust anyone. Do your own research. But her seriousness about this.
Yeah.
She does believe that people trust her.
Feel like they can trust me. Feel like the information that I am providing is worthy for them, and they can trust, obviously, that information.
Do you feel like you can trust the information that comes from the press secretary?
If you do, you are not a true journalist.
Isn't that not right? I mean, what? Well, and listen, she says, like, listen, you have to be able to trust me. But you have to understand, she's an extension of Biden, right?
Yeah.
So, and she doesn't like to comment on campaign stuff, but she's essentially an extension of the campaign as well during this time.
Yep.
Because she's spinning the news for Joe Biden. So the campaign goes out and they do things like taking Trump out of context. And they did that again yesterday, where they take Trump completely out of context once again during his Nevada rally. I'm doing better with that, right? Nevada.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
The Biden campaign, their Twitter account takes Trump completely out of context.
Because I don't want anybody going on me. We need every voter. I don't care about you. I just want your vote. I don't care.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
That was posted to Joe's official Twitter account. That was posted to the Biden headquarter campaign account, the Biden HQ with the laser eyes, the dark Brandon memes, all the things. But they take out all the context. He's joking. People behind him are laughing. And they literally lie to the American public every day. So that's the clip that they put on TV. But the clip in context, it goes like this.
And by the way, isn't that breeze nice? Do you feel the breeze? Because I don't want anybody going on me. We need every voter. I don't care about you. I just want your vote. I don't care. See, now the press will take that and they'll say he said a horrible thing.
He knew that they were going to take it out of context. He knew. And everybody's laughing because everybody knows that it's going to be taken out of context. And sure enough.
Because I don't want anybody going on me. We need every voter. I don't care about you. I just want your vote. I don't care.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And Karine Jean-Pierre says, it's about trust. The American people need to trust us. Well, spoiler alert, we don't. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
More reaction to Hunter Biden, found guilty on all felony charges in his gun trial. And guess what fast food restaurants are doing in California, where the state mandated an increase in the minimum wage? At 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's 11:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. 615-737-9986. If you want to join the show, you can text into the Members Nutrition text line, or you can call in. Dan in Franklin has a comment on the President-in-Chief, Joe Biden. What's up, Dan?
Well, two things. First, I wanted to say, did you notice that you used the word joking about Joe Biden and what he says all the time? Joe Biden, Joe is the king of jokes.
I like it.
He is a master. Second thing I want to say real quick is, sorry, you guys are going to have to actually work hard after Joe is gone.
I know.
You guys have really low hanging fruit.
I know.
So you're gonna have to reach a little bit higher on the tree and actually work every day instead of the stuff being spoon-fed. It's just too easy for you guys.
I was thinking during the commercial break how I can get around that, and I think I'm going to do like this day in history with Bidenisms. I think that might be my route to go, because you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm going to need to do something.
You're actually going to need a ladder to get up the tree.
I mean, here's the thing, though. If Trump wins in November, which Lord willing, that's what happens, and that's what the polls are showing, right? But you and I know what the score is, right? So if Trump wins in November, I do understand that there's going to be some severe cases of Trump derangement syndrome. That's going to be pretty good, pretty juicy stuff.
We'll actually have to come up with a new term.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Dan? Listen. Brainstorm on it and then call back. Like, I'm going to need your help.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, appreciate it. Let's go to Sean in Nashville. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Sean?
Hey, what's going on, Chris? Big fan of the show. First time caller here.
Hey, thanks, man. Welcome in.
I want to present the possibility that Joe Biden, being this senile, goofy old man, is maybe just somewhat of an act to garner sympathy from the public.
Yes.
Let's be honest. I mean, the president is basically just a puppet, an installment that serves a larger criminal enterprise, correct?
Don't look behind the curtain, Sean.
Exactly. So I really don't buy the idea that he's just this old, goofy, senile old man. I think he's actually a calculated sociopath.
Hey, I've thought that myself sometimes. But then, Sean, I hear something like this. I don't know how you fake that. I don't know how that's faked.
That's true. I think maybe he's leaning on that a little bit, or that's the character that his handlers have kind of crafted for him, because, at the water cooler at work, everybody's like, oh, get a load of Biden. It's kind of like a joke, as opposed to like, this guy's actually, a criminal. He's a puppet serving a larger criminal enterprise.
I'm convinced that Dr. Jill is really the mastermind in the family.
Possible. Quite possible.
Hey, appreciate the call.
Absolutely.
Sean.
Take care.
Hey, you too, man. Yeah, I get that theory, and I've had that thought myself, that maybe Joe walks to the back room and he goes, I duped him again. But then you hear things like this. How do you fake that? I mean, that's going to need to be a hotkey, Mason.
I'm on it.
You're going to record this one for me. It's just too good. Okay.
I'm telling you, dude, a bug flew in his mouth.
It had to be. Something had to
Went right down his throat.
One of the last of the living cicadas. Just dived right in.
Listen, here's the thing, though. You have to understand that the odds are still stacked against us, right? We can laugh at Joe and we can have a good time on this. But the left-wing media is still against us. Big tech is still against us. And they're showing their hand every single day. Did you hear that the PragerU app was removed by Google from the Google Play Store? Post Millennial has this story. Google removed PragerU's app from the Play Store for hate speech. Hate speech. And they reference PragerU's recently released documentary, Dear Infidels, A Warning to America, which features firsthand accounts from individuals who escaped the oppressive grip of radical Islamic rule. That's too far. You can't have a documentary that spits facts. But we have to understand that if they can remove PragerU from the App Store on Google, well, they can remove you from the internet as well. We do have the deck stacked up against us. That's why we got to keep pushing, take nothing for granted, and find people who aren't registered to vote and get them registered. We're in a unique position in Tennessee. Because of all the transplants we have here, we know somebody that's not from here. Reach out to them and tell them that they need to make sure they're registered to vote and that they're talking to their friends and that we're rippling out from Tennessee to maximize our impact. We're a deep red state. Trump is going to win the state, but we have a unique ability here to ripple out. So call your friends, call your family back wherever you're from or where your friends are from, and make sure that they're going out and they're talking to people and they're being vocal about the election, because it's going to take all of us. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, convicted on all 3 federal firearms charges. That he lied on forms about being a drug addict when he bought a gun in 2018. They carry 25 years in prison combined. Here's ABC's chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
The one-word response I got from a very close friend of Hunter Biden's is stunned, absolutely stunned. I had spoken to Hunter Biden's, some people in his inner circle in the hours leading up to this. They were confident that he would either be acquitted or there would be a hung jury.
Biden's lawyers indicated they would appeal. Meanwhile, an iconic California-based hamburger chain is the latest fast food company to increase prices because of the state's new $20 per hour minimum wage law. At In-N-Out Burger, it now costs more than $10 for a double burger with fries and a drink. Other chains have also been increasing prices because California's forcing businesses to pay at least $20 per hour. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
matrix. Hey, yo, Hunter. Roll up another one of them congressional blunts, brother. He was gonna get his laptop fixed, but Hunter got high. He wasn't gonna show all them pics, but Hunter got high.
It's 11:36 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, Hunter Biden convicted today, but for what, right? For the form. I mean, there's so many crimes on that laptop that it does feel like this is just for show. That's my immediate reaction. This is for show. I feel like if they dug into the laptop, we could find the real crimes that are being committed, and this is just to kind of, wet the whistle, if you will, and make people calm down. But I think we need to keep our foot on the gas here and keep going. Will anybody keep their foot on the gas and keep going? I don't know. We've seen how Republicans move, right? We've seen how slow and weak they are. So we'll probably not see anything. Probably. But we do have an election coming up. And I do want to give you some hope. Because I think that there is hope. In Virginia, where Biden and Trump are essentially in a deadlock, right? The governor, Glenn Youngkin, has ordered Virginia agencies to strengthen voter roll maintenance ahead of the 2024 election. The Federalist has this story. I'm very excited about it. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin just issued an executive order on Friday requiring state agencies to establish data sharing protocols for keeping the Commonwealth's voter rolls updated and accurate. He said the interagency exchange of data is a vital component of election administration in the Commonwealth. Transparency and interagency collaboration are essential to ensuring that every eligible Virginian can exercise their right to vote and know that the list of registered voters is accurate and up to date. This is so important, and we need to be doing this everywhere. I played this audio a couple days ago, but it's Jesse Waters talking about what they found on Nevada. See, I did it again. I'm working on it. But in Nevada, when they were going through the voter rolls, they found all sorts of weird stuff.
This week, an election watchdog group, Public Interest Legal Foundation, says it found something fishy going on in Nevada. They sent a letter to Clark County's election officials claiming there are dozens of addresses on the state's voter rolls that are actually commercial buildings where nobody lives. Places like strip clubs, casinos, fast food joints. Why are there strip clubs on Nevada's voter rolls? Nobody lives there, except Hunter. We reached out to Clark County for a comment, haven't heard back, but if what the watchdog claims is true, this is huge.
No, it is huge. And this is something that we're dealing with all over the country. And that every state needs to take very, very, very seriously. And Glenn Youngkin in Virginia is. Glenn Youngkin is stepping up. Under Executive Order 31, the Virginia State Police and respective departments of elections, health, and motor vehicles are required now to update data sharing agreements between those agencies within 90 days of the order's effective date and indicate that the applicable state or federal law that permits the sharing of Commonwealth data, the designated contact for each agency, and any other responsibility to ensure the accuracy, reliability, privacy, and efficiency of the data used for list maintenance. Once updated, these agreements will be reviewed once every year according to the directive. The order additionally instructs various state departments to develop a multi-agency data review work group, which will then analyze and issue guidance on the accuracy and security of data given to and used by the Department of Elections for maintaining the state's voter election registration information system. These agencies may also collaborate with other stakeholders on the working group if and when deemed necessary. Goes on to say this effort shall develop comprehensive best practices across agencies and offer recommendations that make necessary and effective changes to the Commonwealth's list maintenance processes. The work group shall review and verify the accuracy and source of data inputs provided and ensure all data meets applicable state and federal requirements. Youngkin further directed the Department of Elections to devise specific data sharing standards for the source, transmission, and receipt of information given to each agency that regularly circulates voter roll data. He also instructed the department to adopt data sharing agreements with other states to identify duplicate registration voters who no longer reside in the Commonwealth, and other persons who are no longer entitled to be registered. This is a good thing. And every state should be taking these kind of steps to clean up the voter rolls before we get to November. Because if the voter rolls aren't cleaned up, in some states, those people who aren't there anymore may get a ballot mailed to them. And we know what kind of chaos that can come, that can bring. So I shout out to Glenn Youngkin for what he's doing. Also, the Philadelphia Inquirer, big newspaper in Philadelphia, they ran an article yesterday about Trump's youth movement. Why some young voters in deep blue Philadelphia are backing the former president. The first paragraph says it all. The working class doesn't really care about which foreign enemy we should be fighting in countries most Americans can't even name. They care about why I have to work 2 jobs this summer, why I have no money in my pocket to take my girlfriend on dates. This is why Trump is winning the youth vote. It's also why Trump is winning so many other voting blocks. They see what's happened under Biden. They can't move out of their parents' house. They can't afford to live. And they go, this has to change. This has to change. This is why Trump is winning over youth voters. It's also why he's winning over black voters. And in California, Fox News went into Compton, and it was quite the spectacle when they start asking black voters who they support. Do you support Trump or do you support Joe Biden? And from Compton to Silicon Valley, they all supported Donald Trump. There was a Silicon Valley billionaire that helped host the fundraiser just past weekend. And he said it outright, I'm politically homeless. He said, I didn't move more right, the party moved more left. And so many people feel that way when it comes to the Democrat Party. So many. So you're looking at all this stuff and you're seeing what's happening. It feels pretty good. It feels pretty good. Trump also apparently has a VP shortlist. And the New York Post had this story yesterday afternoon. J.D. Vance, Doug Burgum, Tom Cotton, and Elise Stefanik. That's who Trump's team is apparently looking at. And also with Burgum, Marco Rubio, Vance. He's also looking at Cotton, Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, Elise Stefanik. That's the short list. And a couple people responded. I will say this. Tom Cotton for VP? Tom Cotton, the guy who graduated from the Young Global Leaders Initiative from the World Economic Forum. Tom Cotton, that Republican? I don't like Tom Cotton. Not a huge fan of Elise Stefanik, but if you give me Byron Donalds or J.D. Vance, I'm all in. And if it ends up being Tim Scott, that's fine too. I don't think that would really excite anyone. But J.D. Vance or Byron Donald, those are great choices. The fact that Trump's team is also looking at Tom Cotton, that gives me pause. And it makes me think maybe they haven't learned from the mistakes of the past, because Tom Cotton should be nowhere near that White House. He's a globalist. 100%. Don't like him. Kristi Noem she sounds pretty butthurt about not being on the VP shortlist. She claims she doesn't care about not being on the Trump VP shortlist, but then says he should pick a woman. I hate this stuff. I really do. If the Republican Party is going to be the party of meritocracy, not the party of DEI and equity and inclusion, no. Trump shouldn't pick a woman. Trump shouldn't pick a black person. Trump shouldn't pick a white guy. Trump should pick the best person for the job. Period. I hate the narrative of, you got to pick a woman. Oh, you got to pick a black guy. Oh, you got to do this. You got to do that. No. Pick the right person for the job. Somebody who's going to have some spine and stand up when we need them. But Kristi Noem shrugged off reports that she didn't make the cut for finalists. And she appeared to throw her support behind one candidate for the job, according to the New York Post. Noem is going to continue campaigning for Trump, but she was adamant she will back him nonetheless after finding out that she's not really on the short list. And she urged him to tap a woman for his ticket. I've told President Trump over and over again he needs to pick whoever helps him win. I've been loyal to him since the beginning. She went on to say, I don't care. I love my job in South Dakota. I care about the fact that I want him to win. So the short list one more time is Burgum, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Senator Tom Cotton, yuck, Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, Elise Stefanik, and possibly Ben Carson. Several of those have been asked to fill out paperwork for more extensive vetting, Fox News reported. And Trump has said that he intends to reveal his pick at the Republican National Convention, which is going to be July 15th to 18th in Milwaukee. I think that the best choice would be J.D. Vance. I do. Would love Byron Donalds as well. And I think Doug Burgum or Tim Scott would be okay. I don't think any of them are going to bring that energy, although Burgum seems legit. The more I see from Doug Burgum, the more I like Doug Burgum. I don't dislike him. It just doesn't seem like he's, I don't know. It feels like he's missing something to be in that slot. But Tom Cotton of Arkansas, he graduated from the Young Leaders Program from the World Economic Forum. He's a Dan Crenshaw kind of Republican. Dan Crenshaw also went through that Young Leaders Program. So did Tulsi Gabbard. So did Pete Buttigieg. We need to be very, very careful about letting any of those people into the orbit of the next Trump administration. If you have any stink of globalist on you, you should be nowhere near the Republican Party. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. What about you? Do you like Tom Cotton? 615-737-9986. 0769 said, why not Tulsi Gabbard? Tulsi Gabbard says the right things occasionally, but Tulsi Gabbard is months removed, a couple years removed from trying to run to be the Democrat nominee for president. She graduated also from the Young Global Leader Initiative through the World Economic Forum, and I'm not really with that. I'm not really with that at all. Any globalist stink on you should just be automatically disbarred. It's 11:49 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You know my friends at Busy Bee. They'll come see you if you have a problem, and it's that time of the year where you should be getting your system serviced the best way, the Busy Bee way, with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, so you don't have a problem pop up. Keep your unit running at maximum efficiency, because if you don't, it's not going to be running at tip-top shape. And instead of just calling to get it maintained, call first and say you want to become a member of the Beehive Club. Becoming a member of the Beehive Club is only $99, and you receive so much. 3 annual tune-ups, one for your heating, one for your cooling, one for your plumbing. A 10% discount on all repairs. Priority front-of-the-line service. When I had an issue with my AC, being a Beehive member was huge because they were at my home in less than an hour when I needed them. It also comes with being a member of the Beehive Club, a $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a maximum of $1,000, no overtime or holiday fees, and exclusive Beehive member promotions. When I tell you it pays for itself almost instantly, that's probably even longer than how quick it pays for itself. Becoming a Beehive member is the move. Busy Bee's your Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, just call my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833. Online at busybeehvac.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The White House making a statement from after Hunter Biden was found guilty on all those felony charges in his gun trial. Also, how will young voters decide in the presidential election? We'll hear some expert speculation and some good news on the jobs front for a Middle Tennessee community. We'll have those stories at noon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, appreciate it, Jay. It's 11:54 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So Jay's going to have your statement from the White House. I have a statement from the Trump campaign. There's a couple statements floating around online. One of them is not accurate, but I have one directly from Donald Trump Jr.'s Twitter account. The statement reads this: "This trial has been nothing more than a distraction from the real crimes of the Biden crime family, which has raked in tens of millions of dollars from China." Yep, tens of millions of dollars from China, Russia, and Ukraine. Crooked Joe Biden's reign over the Biden family criminal empire is all coming to an end on November 5th, and never again will a Biden sell government access for personal profit. Signed, Carolyn Leavitt, Trump campaign national press secretary. That's the official statement from the Trump campaign. This is a distraction. This isn't even scratching the surface of the crimes of the Biden family. That's from the Trump campaign. I tend to agree with it. And I wonder what else they will find on that laptop. We need real investigations. That's what we need. 100%. Because we haven't gotten them yet. Not yet. We're hoping for them. We're hoping for real criminal charges. We're hoping for real accountability, but we haven't seen it yet. But still, my friends, we must persist. We must keep going because under Joe Biden, this country can't survive. Under Joe Biden, I know you've probably felt this in your own wallet. The cost of raising kids in America continues to increase. I've felt it. I have 4. And this inflation is making it more difficult to raise a child in Joe Biden's America. Per Lending Tree, chief credit analyst Matt Schultz, he told Fox Business that prices for everything have continued to rise, adding that there's so much that goes into childcare, including rent, payroll, insurance, and much more, that when all of those costs shoot up, the overall cost of childcare does too. This is from a report on Monday. The cost of childcare has surged nearly 20% between 2016 and 2021, the latest year for which complete data is available, according to Lending Tree. Annual expenses, including tax exemptions or credit, hit $21K in 2021 versus $18,000 in 2016. And it's much higher today. We've seen grocery prices up 30%. We've seen costs of just about everything go up. The cost of raising a child is far more expensive in Joe Biden's economy. I have 2 boys that eat everything. We're on a strict banana for snacks program. You know, that's like the only affordable. You're still hungry? Have a banana. 59 cents a pound. That's what you got to do. You have to. Because in this economy, it's just unaffordable to live. It's unaffordable to do regular things. And Biden will tout all these new jobs that he's creating, all these new successes he's bringing to the table. But in Georgia, one of the things that Biden's been pushing is, we're training workers for the EV industry. In Georgia, Biden's administration has basically set up training for EV workers, and the workers that have been trained to work in the EV, the electric vehicle industry, are now unable to get jobs, despite significant investments in the electric vehicle sector in Georgia, including a program launched by Goodwill of North Georgia aimed at transitioning people from low-wage positions to EV jobs. Job placement has fallen short of expectations, according to a report by a local news station out there. The program was designed to equip participants with the skills necessary to install EV charging stations, which is a crucial infrastructure component to Biden's EV plan. But, despite billions of dollars invested, very, very few, I think it's single digits, chargers have been installed. And this is as Biden campaigns on climate change. He promises to build 500,000 charging stations in the U.S. by 2030. They wanted to get people ready to do this. And the people that went into this field and went into these training programs now, they can't find jobs. And with the $7.5 billion that were allocated for charging stations more than 2 years ago, only 7 charging stations are operational across 4 states as a result of that money. So it's like, little over $1 billion per charging station. That's Bidenomics. Murphy's in next. I got more for you tomorrow. Thanks for being a part of the show. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.